Have you ever rushed a decision just to make the anxiety of not knowing stop? It is a deeply uncomfortable feeling, isn't it? You get that twisting in your stomach when a project's outcome is completely up in the air. There's this dangerous, yet completely universal urge to escape the unknown at literally any cost. We'll actually convince ourselves that a bad plan right now is somehow better than sitting with the discomfort of having no plan at all. But as we'll explore today, that instinct, it's a massive professional trap. So, here is our quick roadmap for today's explainer. We're looking at transforming you from a reactive, anxiety-driven professional into a calm, deliberate thinker. We'll cover the trap of certainty, cognitive closure, the stoic pause, intellectual humility, and then we'll wrap up with a daily toolkit and a 7-day challenge. Let's get right into it. Section 1. The trap of certainty, and why our brains absolutely hate the unknown. Okay, so because we're biologically wired for safety, we naturally crave absolute certainty. We want predictable maps. But let's be real, in the modern workplace, certainty is basically an illusion. The great Stoic philosopher Seneca hit the nail on the head when he said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Think about your last really ambiguous work project. How much of your stress was caused by the actual concrete facts on the ground, and how much was caused by you creating catastrophic worst-case scenarios in your head? We project our own internal anxieties onto the blank canvas of the unknown, and we end up torturing ourselves over professional disasters that haven't actually happened, and honestly, probably never will. Which brings us perfectly to Section 2, cognitive closure. This is that intense psychological urge we get for an answer. In psychology, there's this really fascinating concept called the need for cognitive closure, or NFC. It's essentially the motivated desire for a firm answer to an ambiguous situation, just to avoid the discomfort of uncertainty. When you're running high on NFC, you exhibit what's called an urgency tendency. You want closure, and you want it now. So you grab onto early cues, you completely freeze your thinking, and you stop looking for new solutions. In a high-pressure work setting, this urgency tendency injects massive bias into your professional judgments. Why? Because you're suddenly making decisions based on your own relief rather than aiming for actual accuracy. And that leads us to a really vital contrast: the comfort of rigid beliefs versus the growth of curious questioning. When we are desperate for closure, belief acts as a stabilizer. We cling to familiar, rigid ways of doing things just because it feels safe. But when a belief or a workplace procedure hardens into absolute certainty, it turns into a suffocating cage. It literally blinds us to new data. On the flip side, embracing curious questioning, that's your life raft when you're navigating the unknown. It keeps your strategies breathing, alive, and adaptable. So how do we actually break out of that cage? Let's move to Section 3, the Stoic pause, where we replace panic with deliberate reflection. We could actually look to the techniques of the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius to help replace that imagined panicked fear with highly rational, structured thinking. Here's a simple step-by-step workflow to purposefully pause and reflect before making those rapid, biased decisions. Step 1. Simply notice the urgency to react. Feel that tension in your gut and just acknowledge it. Step 2. Step back and take what the Stoics call the view from above. Zoom way out. Look at the vastness of your industry, your entire career timeline. Realize how incredibly small this momentary panic actually is in the grand scheme of things. Step 3. Label the uncertainty as neutral data. It's not a threat, it is literally just a blank space. And Step 4, deliberately delay your final decision until that desperate urge for premature closure has passed. Up next is Section 4, intellectual humility, fostering curiosity over ego. Existentialists teach us that existence precedes essence. Basically, that means you have no fixed, pre-given professional nature. You're continually making yourself through your choices. And because of that, you are completely free to drop your rigid ego and constantly redefine how you respond to ambiguity. So I want you to use this specific journaling template to start challenging your own personal assumptions. Notice the shift here. Instead of a defensive, judgmental statement like, "This project is a total disaster," which just locks you into a fixed state of panic, you foster intellectual humility by asking, "What is the core issue we need to solve here?" Or instead of assuming they are intentionally ignoring my input, ask yourself, what operational perspective might they be working from? This simple shift shatters the illusion of certainty and opens the door to actual collaboration. All right, let's transition from the theory into the deeply practical. Section 5, the daily toolkit. These are practical frameworks you can use every single workday. Here is your daily checklist for managing professional stress and practicing mindful questioning. First, start a morning reflection ritual. Much like the Stoics who prepared for the day before dawn, take some time to sit comfortably with an unsolved problem. Don't try to solve it right then, just sit and coexist with it comfortably. Then, as you go through your day, run a quick bias check. Ask yourself, am I rushing this decision for relief or for accuracy? Start reframing the unknown as an opportunity for growth rather than a roadblock. And finally, wrap up with an evening reflection to actively decatastrophize the day's events, bringing those wild imagined fears right back down to reality. Let's actually try a piece of this right now. We're going to do a quick 5-minute daily guided visualization exercise so you can feel what it's like to sit with ambiguity. Okay, sit comfortably wherever you are. Take a deep breath. Now call to mind that ambiguous situation at work that's been stressing you out lately. Just observe it. Don't try to fix it. Notice that physical sensation in your body that desperately wants an answer. Now mentally label that feeling. Say to yourself, this is neutral data. This is not a threat. Notice how almost instantly that urgency begins to lose its power over you. So, let's do a quick interactive challenge. Think about a recent workplace uncertainty you're dealing with today. How can you reframe it right now using these Stoic techniques? Can you take that view from above? Can you convert your frustration into a curiosity-based question? By applying this right now, you prove to yourself that your stress is entirely within your control to manage and modulate. And that brings us to Section 6, your 7-day challenge. This is all about breaking cognitive frigidity. This is where the real transformation happens. For the next 7 days, I challenge you to track and tally the exact moments you feel that urge to rush a decision just to escape your anxiety. Every single time you feel it, execute the deliberate Stoic pause we talked about. Step back, take the view from above, and delay. Furthermore, use our journaling template to convert at least one rigid workplace judgment into an open question every single day. And lastly, record how your stress levels respond to sitting in the ambiguity. If you actually commit to this routine, you're going to prove to yourself how these deliberate pauses dramatically reduce daily burnout and totally change your relationship with stress. As you take on this challenge, I want you to keep this really profound thought in mind. Truth has never feared examination. It only grows clearer under light. Questioning your own frantic desire for certainty doesn't destroy your professional confidence. It actually refines your leadership. The absolute best leaders aren't the ones who pretend to have all the answers right away. They're the ones who can remain totally calm under the immense pressure of not knowing, which ultimately uncovers better, far more resilient solutions. So, tomorrow morning, when the pressure mounts and the data is completely missing, what are you going to do? Will you let the anxiety of the unknown dictate your next move? Or will you use the Stoic pause, ask better questions, and find true freedom in the ambiguity? The choice, and the incredible clarity that follows, is entirely yours.